welcome from my side. I just start my presentation. And so, as Florian said before, I'm a colleague of him. I'm also in the Chamber of Agriculture, but not dealing with, or not mainly dealing with the advisory service. Um, but with the IX system, the implementation of the CAP in Austria. And as we work together today, it's the same in Austria with our agri-environmental program, because we tried here, and this, in my opinion, is a best practice example I want to show to you how to put together and make the best out of a combination of area-related classic CAP measures and the AKIS system. And I think with our training requirements in our agri-environmental program ÖPUL, we did it quite well. So I want to give you an overview, why we do it, how we do it, and then Elisabeth Süßenbauer from our managing authority from the Ministry of Agriculture will go into detail on a specific topic of this training requirement in our area-related programs. And we also have the pleasure to have a farmer among us who will tell his perspective, what he thinks about the training requirement within an area-based measure. So let's start with one quick slide to give you a view what is the agriculture in Austria looks like. We have 145,000 farms with an average size of more or less 24 hectares, and 75% of our agricultural area is located more or less in the mountain area, in areas with natural constraints, and 27% of our farmers are organic. And the most important part, I think this is also one of the key features why we have the strong agri-environmental program. We have 60% of our CAP budget used for the second pillar. I think the average in the EU is 40% of the overall CAP budget used for the second pillar. And therefore, we have a lot of money in the second pillar in the rural development. And from this money, 40%, almost half of it, is used for the agri-environmental and climate-related commitments, AECMs. And more than 80 farmers participate in at least one of these measures. And therefore, from the point of view of and training provider, it's perfectly fitting that we have the obligation in some of these environmental measures to participate in a training. So almost all farmers participate in a measure, and so therefore almost all of them have to attend a training to meet the requirements in the best possible way, which they have to fulfill when they participate in these measures. And Florian, I think, mentioned it already. We have a well-developed, independent, consistent, and comprehensive advisory and training system in Austria with our Chamber of Agriculture and the Institute for Rural Institute for Advanced Training. This is more or less a CAP in a nutshell. I can talk hours about it, but I have to skip to the main part. And this is the agri-environmental program. And you can see it here. We have 25 measures in Austria for all various types of farms, some interesting measures. But now today, I want to focus with you on those 6 measures that have an requirement to fulfill, that is called training for ÖPUL. It's the Austrian Agri-Environmental Program abbreviation. So if I say ÖPUL, it's the Agri-Environmental Program. And here we have 2 general measures, one for the arable area and 3 for grassland farms, where farmers, if they want to comply and participate in one of these measures, have to fulfill a training requirement. And in detail, they have to focus specific topics. If, for example, they participate in the environmentally sound and biodiversity promoting management, it's called UPP in Austria. So if they want to participate in this measure, they also have to do a lot on the area, of course, on the fields, many requirements for the cultivation of their land, but also they have to participate in at least 3 hours of training on the specific topic of biodiversity. They have time to participate in such a training, so it's a multi-annual area-related measure, and they can participate, for example, start with the start of the CP period in 2023, but by the end of 2024, the farmer who participates in this measure, UPP, has to show the managing authority, the paying agency, that he has attended at least 3 hours of training with the focus on biodiversity, as biodiversity is the main topic of this measure. It's the same with the measure organic farming. Here the farmer has to participate in training as 5 hours or more on organic farming related topics. Then we have a measure on the limitation of yield increasing inputs, so limitation in the use of plant protection products and mineral fertilizers. It's called EEP in the abbreviation. And there the training requirement has to focus on nitrogen fertilization and an area adapted use frequency in grassland, so that you um, reduce the use of grassland because of the reduced use of mineral fertilizers. So farmers get equipped with the proper knowledge, up-to-date knowledge, to comply with the requirements of these agri-environmental measures. We also have the same for nature protection on alpine pastures. As Austria has a lot of mountains, we also have a lot of alpine pastures up in the mountains. And there, if you participate in a top-up on nature conservation, you also have to participate in a training requirement, which is called Nature Conservation Oriented and Biodiversity Friendly Management of Alpine Pastures. The same for arable land. It's groundwater protection on arable land. Here you have to focus your training on groundwater protection, humus formation, reduction of soil erosion, and the correct planning of the fertilization of your crops. And here you even have to participate in at least 10 hours within the period of the participation in this multi-annual measure. A rather similar measure is one for the grassland. It's called Humus Conservation and Soil Protection in Plowable Grassland, HPG is the acronym. And here you have to focus or participate in an training with topics on grassland management or methods and frequency in mowing, fertilization planning, and the differentiated use of grassland, so that you as a farmer do not cut or mow the whole area of your farm on one day, because that's maybe not that good for biodiversity. So it's the idea behind these training requirements in area-related measures is to get update knowledge from academia, but also from studies and from practitioners to the farmers who wants to comply with and participate in these measures. So the most important aim is the explaining of the why and the how. The why: do I have to comply with these increasing demands and requirements within the measures, and how do I do this in the best possible way for the environment and climate, but also for the economic point of view of the farm. So it's a key issue is the awareness raising among farmers who want and in the end do participate in these measures. And now in the current CAP period, it's the perfect missing link, more or less, for the green architecture, for the combination of the area-based measures, in my opinion, and the AKIS. Because if we talk on green architecture, we always talk about eco schemes and agro-environmental commitments, but the green architecture is more also AKIS is part of the green architecture, also training requirements. And corporations are part of the green architecture, and therefore I think our approach in ÖPUL with the training requirements perfectly fits to the green architecture because it has been a green architecture in Austria for many years. Because we had these training requirements, at least I think for now 3 CAP periods in our implementation of the CAP. So I hope that also on EU level, on Commission level, our best practice example will be used and communicated how to make it a good use in the green architecture on combination of AKIS and area-based measures. Of course, the aim from the point of view of our managing authority is to maximize the contribution of the farmers towards the meeting of the objectives of the measures, because in the CAP strategic plan, we as a member state need to fulfill objectives in the reporting frameworks on the CAP. And with these training requirements for farmers, we or the ministry hopes that we will meet the objectives behind the measures in the best possible way to increase the climate and environmental condition of the CAP with the help of the farmers. Because with an up-to-date knowledge, they get a problem awareness, for example, on erosion protection and how to prevent it, and a willingness to change and the understanding why they have to fulfill certain requirements. Also, in my opinion, it's very necessary to equip farmers with a state-of-the-art recent knowledge, newest findings of academia and science on the topics covered by the training requirements. For example, Elisabeth Süßenbacher will go into more details if there are new methods to protect biodiversity and at the same time maintain a good income, a good yield from your land. Then farmers should know this. And with these mandatory training requirements, we can give this knowledge to farmers whilst at the same time they fulfill it and implement it on the ground. And I kept it until the end of the aims of this training. The most important part, in my opinion, as representative of the Austrian Chamber of Agriculture, is that this training requirement is no additional burden for farmers in this measure, because it's to a certain extent also compensated within the height of the payment of the measure. So it's no awful requirement for the farmer that they have to fulfill. They even get money from the AECM participation if they participate in a measure that not only has requirements on the field, but also requirement in fields of training. So it's compensated, and I think that's a good solution to get the training to the farmers, the up-to-date information to the farmers, because only with this knowledge they can effectively implement the measures, and then we can make the best out of the implementation of the CAP, because due to the new framework of reporting and requirement and evaluation of the CAP, every member state has to deliver, and so farmers will deliver the best way they can in participating in these measures. And in the end, I also hope Austria will deliver an ambitious agri-environmental outcome to justify the CAP, because CAP needs to be justified also in the upcoming periods. Just one glimpse on my time. I think I still have 5 minutes left. Perfect. So who can provide the training for this training requirements in our agri-environmental program? In fact, only providers that are approved by the ministry. So not everybody and everyone who just thinks like, hey, I want to do some training for farmers can provide it. First of all, you have to be approved by the ministry. Like we have also been approved by our ministry, the Austrian Chamber of Agriculture, and the Rural Institute for Advanced Training. And there are 14 other training providers that are approved in Austria. And we are the only ones who are approved for all of these 6 measures to offer training for farmers. And also our training that we provide for farmers is on a random base checked by the ministry and or paying agency. I'm not sure which one, but we will be checked if we fulfill the requirements to be an officially approved provider for this training. So we had to lay down our didactic methods and why we are competent in this fields like biodiversity or erosion protection, and why we can put knowledge to farmers in the best possible and recent way. And we use a lot of different methods. It could be a training, just very simple training in person. It could be webinars like today. It could be a field day or a field trip where you show farmers recent techniques and methods and machinery. Or it can also be seminars or even trainings and courses that last several days or weeks, but the topic has to fit to the measure. You only can offer training that is connected to the topic of the agri-environmental measure you want to be approved for. And we as Rural Institute for Advanced Training developed a lot of training material and are still developing for farmers, and do this in close contact because this is very important with academia, even more important with farmers, so that the suggestions and inputs also work on the field. But we're also in contact with agri-environmental organizations, so that not only the economic but also the environmental aspect is part of this training for farmers. It's, I think, 2 more slides, just to give you an example, because I think many of you are from training providers from other member states, maybe. This is what a training confirmation looks like. So it's very important that the farm ID is on the training confirmation, because only with the farm ID you can make the connection. Is the person who attended the training also the person who applied for the respective agri-environmental measure? So it needs to be interconnected and needs to be the same farm ID. This is also the content of controls. Then you have to mention the relevant agri-environmental and climate commitment and the number of hours that the farmer participated. For example, the groundwater protection measure has 10 hours of training requirements, and for sure you cannot fulfill it in one day. So maybe a farmer has to go to 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 different trainings where he altogether can collect the 10 hours of training requirements. And it's also, mandatory to print on the training confirmation the content of the training. So what was the content? Is it correlated to the measure the farmer wants to get the training requirement? Because in the end, the farmer has to have the training confirmation at its hand. It's part of controls. If the paying agency visits the farm and makes a on-the-spot control, then the farmer has to show the paying agency this training confirmation. Otherwise, there will be sanctions because the farmer did not fulfill the requirement of the measure in terms of training, but only after 2024, because 2025, because till the end of 2025, farmers have the possibility to collect the hours of training they need. So to sum it up and to get in a conclusion, I think that the training requirements are, although we had them for several program periods, are now even more important to contribute towards the climate and environmental ambition of the CAP, because the awareness raising is now more important than ever, because CAP needs to be justified in its output via the CAP strategic plan, and also it's very important to get recent and practical content to the farmers on the ground, that farmers know how to fulfill the requirements of the new agro-environmental measures in the best way. And this is for me even the most important part. We should not forget the green architecture is more than the measures on the field. It's also the training, it's the collaboration, and therefore these training requirements in area-related measures are a perfect example for how the green architecture should be implemented in the member state, because we interconnect them. We connect area-related measures with the training requirement. And of course, in the end, the training requirements offer a value added for society, because the quality of the implementation of the area of the AECMs is increased, because the farmer knows how to implement it in the best way. And also the farmer has a value added, because he in the end gets a slightly higher remuneration from the participation of in the AECMs. Otherwise, if there's not a training requirement, there would be some euros less per hectare that he gets as a payment. And I think it should not be the only justification that the farmer gets more money if he attends the training. It's also the knowledge he receives that's even way more valuable and important in the long term for the farmer. So I hope I could give you a view on the idea behind these training requirements. I'm here for the discussion in the end. If you have some additional questions now, my colleagues will go into specific details of this approach, of this best practice example. Thank you very much.
For further information, you can visit the Modern ACUS website at modernacus.eu, or do follow us on social media.